Okay, so let's like officially do this. T, hello, thank you so much for joining us. Who are you? What do you do? What are you known for?
Sure. So, as you saw during TwitchCon, I originally started on Twitch as a hardcore gamer. My soul game is Destiny. Played it for years, and then during the pandemic, I pivoted and I started getting into paranormal investigation. So I've
That's a
been
pivot.
doing paranormal. That's a pivot. It's a hard, well, not too hard of a pivot because during the pandemic, my buddy Phil, who I formed OSI with, said, "Hey T, there's this brand new game out. It's called Phasmophobia. Let's give it a shot." So we went into Phasmophobia. He was in VR, and I was on a flat screen, and we had no idea what we were doing. This was a brand new game. There was no strategy guides out there. We just stumbled in it and had the time of our lives. About a year later, after we're coming out of the pandemic, Phil says to me, "You want to try this for real?" And I haven't looked back since. I have been streaming investigations since that first investigation in 2021. Oh, I should also point this out too. I'm also a writer, and I'm the guy that wrote this. It's a real book.
Hey.
It's a real book, and yeah, that's another thing I'm known for. I'm known for my writing. I've written steampunk, I've written science fiction, fantasy, horror, and I also write nonfiction books. We just got the green light for the fifth edition of Podcasting for Dummies, so I'll be working on that in a few months. But as far as why I'm on your stream, it's because I've been streaming paranormal investigations since 2021, but I started multi-streaming this year. And the workaround that I was originally working with when Twitch said you can't multi-stream at all is, well, I'm streaming on TeeMonster on TheTeeMonster. I'm streaming on TheTeeMonster, but I stream on YouTube as Old Spirits Investigations. So
Mm.
it's two different entities, and that was going to be my workaround. And when they made the announcement that multi-streaming was for everyone, I remember sitting in the audience next to Steve Saylor, and I just went, and now I could do it completely, completely conscious free and everything like
Yeah.
that. The basic strategy hasn't changed though, and I feel like that has been a driving force in not only why we multi-stream, but also why we stream the investigations in general.
Hmm. That's interesting. So what made you decide to start doing that? Especially considering that, before it was not just, oh, you can do it now. You had to like actually be creative about being able to do it,
Yeah.
right? Especially as a Twitch
I
partner, like you have that visibility.
Well, no, I haven't partnered yet. It's
Wait,
something
what?
I'm working toward. I haven't partnered yet. No,
You're not a, but you got your own
I've not
panel?
partnered yet. I did.
That's a, well, I mean, that's good on the
I
resume right there.
I well, hey, look, I pitched this, and I don't mind saying it. I stacked it with the people that I knew were best representatives of non-gaming content.
Yeah.
There was somebody, I think you're familiar with her, Christy Schuyler, does some
Yes.
ASMR. She's very
My
talented that way.
fiance. Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. I was
That
in
was
the
a thing.
bathroom during open ceremonies. Did I miss something? Anyway. But Steve Saylor, Chelsea Bites, and then when they told me, well, this is your moderator, and I had never met Deer until that panel. I was like, wow, you really are a force of nature. And it was just I couldn't have asked for a better first time panel. And
Amazing.
yeah, that's so yeah, that was an accomplishment, and I'm hoping I can make a repeat performance again in 2024. But no, I haven't partnered yet. I'm working on it. But as far as the strategy and what I'm doing with streaming and the paranormal and all of that,
Yeah.
one, I felt like I was learning streaming all over again, because now I was taking all of my setup here and I was taking it with me on the road. It wasn't just a casual, hey, it's me. I'm here at this location. I'm on my phone. No big deal. Now I had to worry about, okay, what's the lighting situation going to be?
Yeah.
How much can I share of the experience? And that was why I chose to stream my paranormal investigations. If I'm sharing my gaming experience, I definitely want to share this experience. And someone in your chat commented about how, Loco, you don't have to worry, wherever T takes you, you just have to remember that ghosts are trying to rip your face off. Well, that's the difference between playing Phasmo and actual paranormal investigation. In fact, if you were to tell me if you were to ask me, well, what's it like? It's like watching a fishing stream because it's a 3 hour stream of fishing, right? Only we're fishing for ghosts, and it's 2 hours and 55 minutes of waiting for something to happen and 5 minutes of absolute pandemonium. And it's that 5 minutes that you're waiting for.
Yeah, I'm not waiting for that.
And
That's some tough for sure.
I will say this, and I will tell you this: the places that we tend to go to, we lean more on the history than on the sensationalism.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is, we're already looking ahead to the stuff we're going to be presenting in season 3, and there is no asylum yet. There's no prison. There's no tuberculosis ward. I mean, I think the most sensational place that we visit is a place called the Old Hospital on College Hill. And yes, it was hella creepy. But the other places we're visiting, a distillery, um, an old theater that was built in 1928, and one of the other standouts was a place called the Octagon Mansion, which the only way I can describe it, it was an ADHD fever dream. And we were doing a paranormal investigation in there. I didn't know where to look. I was exhausted after I left this place.
Oh my
But
gosh.
the places we tend to go are more of a historical nature, and they
Hmm.
usually have something that's a little more positive about, but it's still weird and it's still creepy, but in a historical sort of way, if you will. And as far as uh relearning how to stream, that has been the biggest challenge.
Right.
And multi-streaming, as much as it helps with the reach of old spirits, it's also a challenge in itself because now instead of worrying about streaming on one platform, I'm not worrying about streaming on two. But
Yeah.
I'm not doing it just because it's cool. I'm doing it because we have a strategy in place and we have two different audiences, but we're trying to bring them all together on this particular night.
So, I mean, and so that makes a lot of sense. So, did y'all have a YouTube, like an established YouTube before you started multi-streaming? And if so, can you describe like the content and the strategy and the like what is the state of your YouTube channel?
State of the YouTube channel is I wish I had the same growth on YouTube. Sorry, wish I had the same growth on Twitch that I have
Mhm.
on YouTube. And it was the other way around. I actually had the established Twitch channel, and we just launched YouTube only 2 years ago. And right now we are steadily climbing up the ladder. It's we're real close into partnering. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Within 2 years, I may be partnering with YouTube, and with Twitch, I'm still working on that partnership.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to do was I honestly thought about rebranding Old Spirits to just getting rid of the T Monster and rebranding it as Old Spirits. Thing is, I enjoy playing video games too much,
Mm.
and I didn't feel like you would really go to Old Spirits Investigations if I was playing Destiny. Also, Old Spirits isn't just me, it's my wife, it's Phil Rossi, it's his wife Tina, it's different people that we work with, including
Right.
Steve Saylor. So I didn't really feel comfortable making me the face of Old Spirits. Then then there was establishing what Old Spirits was versus what the TeeMonster is all about. And what the TeeMonster is all about is sharing experiences with his chat,
Mhm.
whether it's baking pumpkin pies for Thanksgiving, whether it's charity streams, whether it's Destiny, or currently playing Dead Space as well. That's my experience. But what the way I played the strategy was that on Old Spirits, I was going to focus solely on the paranormal, solely
Right.
on what we're doing, advice on how to handle the paranormal if you wanted to do this, loco. If you wanted to go on ahead and no, okay, I had to try.
Where's the kick
That
button?
was,
Let me just hover over this real quick. Let me
but
get the
the
hook.
there we go. But the idea was that Old Spirits on YouTube was solely about the paranormal.
Yeah.
And my strategy was I'm going to see if I can get my Twitch audience to come over towards YouTube, and they
Yeah.
can watch either live content or the edited content.
Right.
And then as far as the Twitch audience, this was just something new to throw into the mix. And they'd already been coming in to watch me play Phasmo. And they're like, oh, wow. And originally we were going to call it Phasmo for Real. That was
Mm.
the original working title. And then Phil and I sat down and we said, do we want to be tied to Phasmophobia? And do we want to get that letter that says, hey, it's Kinetic Games here. You can't do that.
Mm.
So we decided, let's make our own identity, but let's see how we can make both the TeeMonster and Old Spirits Investigations work together. And it's been great so far. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, and I think this is actually like a really good point because a lot of streamers on Twitch, they want to be able to do whatever they want and like grow. And the strategy really is to niche down. And that is really prevalent on YouTube. You see some big YouTubers that have multiple YouTube channels so that they can focus in one direction. So I think that this like really actually shows an important consideration when it comes to multi-streaming, which is, you don't have to multi-stream all of your content like to YouTube. In fact, a lot of just let's play 8 hours of doing whatever isn't really going to work on YouTube. So by doing this, you get to actually, customize and dictate exactly what is going to the YouTube. You have niche your YouTube in a specific direction. And now when you do that live content on Twitch, now you get the double dip and the benefits of the double dip because you are also creating video content on YouTube outside of the live streaming component.
I think the other bonus too is that there are some people that prefer the Twitch UI versus the YouTube UI. And really, the only interaction that you can enjoy on YouTube, at least for me, as a consumer of different media, is that when you have a premiere on YouTube, that I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's close to the Twitch experience as I have found, but I don't personally like the YouTube UI. So if people want to see us live, they have the choice now of either sticking with YouTube, they'll get the notifications there, or they can hop over on Twitch when they get the notification. They go, well, I prefer this atmosphere. I prefer this UI experience. So I'm going to stick with Twitch. And the difference between the two is that if you stick with Old Spirits through the TeeMonster, then you not only get that, you get to see me scream for real in games like Dead Space, Demonologist, and have fun like that.
Yeah.
But if you're more focused on the paranormal and you want to see the edited content,
Yeah.
for example, that 5 minutes that I was talking about, you can see some of that build up, but you don't have to sit through all 3 hours of it. So you
Yeah.
have the option of either edited content or and the UI of YouTube versus the UI of Twitch. Those little details I do think matter, and I think
Mm.
that that's also part of the strategy that Phil and I have been employing since we started this.
Yeah. So have you noticed any like trends or patterns with, distinguishing your experience from YouTube and Twitch? Like, are you seeing viewership growth on YouTube? Is the chat different? Like what has been your experience?
The YouTube audience is way more demanding on pristine
Mm.
audio and pristine video. They do not have the same patience as the people on Twitch.
Interesting.
And
Yeah,
I
that makes
and I,
sense.
and I do think that's because YouTube is a home for edited content. It's edited, it's post production, it's all smoothed out, everything's great. Twitch, no, you see all the warts, you see all the wrinkles, you see the fails. I mean, I still remember M. Montgomery had a failure with one of her computers, and she troubleshot for I want to say an hour and a half, and the Twitch audience stayed with her. That would never happen on YouTube. I'm gonna just double down and say it, never gonna happen on YouTube. I think discoverability on YouTube though is still head and shoulders above Twitch, and that's frustrating.
Mm. Yeah.
I've seen so much growth in such a short amount of time on YouTube versus Twitch. Now, granted, when I go to TwitchCon and I tell people I'm into the paranormal, they're like, "Ooh," and they really get interested. But that spike in growth that I've seen on YouTube, I'm not seeing it as much on Twitch. And that again is its own challenge, and how I've been trying to work with that challenge is I call my Friday night streams the Fright Night Friday. And what that is that's me sitting down with everything we captured and we listen and we watch it together as a stream. That has been a big this is something I don't think would work as well on YouTube, but it works great on Twitch because it's interactive.
Right.
Now everybody sits with me so that one, it's total transparency because yes, I have gotten before where you could have done that in post. I'm like, come to my stream on Fridays. sit with me, and then you'll see I don't have time or the patience to do this in post, okay? And the other thing too, that was again one of those magic moments. I'm sitting there, I'm listening to the footage I'm watching the footage with everyone, and then I hear a whisper, and I stop and I go, "Did all of you hear that?" And chat was like, "Back it up." We backed it up, listened to it again, backed it up, listened to it again. They watched me slow it down, and sure enough, as my wife is talking, right between her two thoughts, you hear a whisper that says, "Turn around." I
Ah!
am not making
No.
that up.
Ooh.
That is
I
in my
would turn
launch reel.
around. I would be turning
Yeah.
around. I would
And
be
yeah,
gone.
you'd be like, "I'm turning around on the nearest exit." But you could tell that my wife, none of us heard it. None of us heard it at the moment. And it's that kind of magic that people are like, "This is why I'm coming in on Fright Night Fridays, because I want to sit there with T and go through all the evidence." But you also see just how for every one moment like that, you've got a long, long night of just reviewing and listening. But that's where I open it up to people to say, well, what devices are you using? How do these devices work? Do you trust these devices? What works for you and what doesn't work? And it's been that kind of approach to the paranormal, the behind the scenes, how the sausage is made, if you will, that I really enjoy bringing to Twitch, because now you get to see the other side of the paranormal. It's not somebody being levitated off the floor and you're playing Kate Bush. This is the part where you review everything, because that's why you're recording this stuff for magic moments like that.
Right. So let's talk about the like community real quick, because
Okay.
previously Twitch's stance was we're not going to allow multi-streaming because we don't want to fracture your community. Do you notice, like, from your YouTube chat, do you have a community feel on YouTube? Because YouTube has, with the live stream, you have your chat, you also have a membership program, you can
Mhm.
post written content, you can do polls. Like, there's actually a lot of ways to engage, both live and not live on YouTube. Do you notice, like, do you have a community feel on YouTube, and is that community separate from Twitch? Do you feel like there's an overlap?
There's a very small overlap. The overlap are people that know me from Twitch and they're coming over to YouTube. Have I seen people from YouTube come over to Twitch? Not yet.
Mm,
And I think that's because one thing I think YouTube has managed to do better than Twitch is that YouTube has communities around a subject. YouTube
yeah.
has a community um around the paranormal. And I've seen a lot of overlap when I go from one show to the next show to the next show. I see a lot of the same familiar faces, and they're starting to come over to old spirits. On Twitch, it feels more like the community is based around the individual. There's a community around you, Loco. There's a community, small as it is. There's a community around me. There's a community around Danfinity, around Ninja, around any of these bigger and smaller streamers. They are the community. It's not so
Right.
much about the game or about the subject. It's about that particular individual. And a good example is Detoon. Detoon is also doing paranormal investigations, and he's doing a great job. I love his stuff. And Detoon built his community around music, and then when he pivoted towards doing the paranormal, his community pivoted as well. So I'm seeing, as far as splintering of the communities, I don't see that. I have not seen that on Twitch, and I've definitely not seen it on YouTube. But have I seen people from YouTube coming over to Twitch? I don't expect my YouTube community to come over to Twitch, mainly because they're probably not interested in watching me play Dead Space. Now, if there are fans of Dead Space that are going to come over, then sure, they'll come over. But I think, at least for me, I've been focusing more on trying to get more of my Twitch community over to the paranormal.
Right.
And they're so used to me playing Destiny and playing video games. I think it's tougher to get my community over from Twitch to YouTube. I don't think it's been splintering. I think it's just two different approaches to the community. One platform, Twitch, is about making the individual the community. Over on YouTube, it's more about the subject matter.
Mm. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, knowing how YouTube works, knowing how Discovery works, and knowing how people create channels. Like, this is why people make very specific channels, because YouTube needs to figure out what your channel's about, right? And if
Mhm.
you're so variety, then YouTube will struggle to show you to the right people. But if you
Exactly.
can go in one direction, YouTube says, okay, well, I'm going to show your content to anyone who watches paranormal type videos, right? That makes very clear sense. And I think that this is like, again, part of the process of when you are multi streaming, it's not simply just multi-stream whatever and go to all the platforms as much as possible, but actually taking some time to understand the platform you're multi-streaming to and understanding how it works, right?
Totally agree. I totally agree. I mean, and I think that's the difference between the audiences of Twitch versus YouTube. Twitch is used to live interaction and live streaming. And when people go, well, how hard can it be? I'm like, you've obviously never streamed, because working live, and I feel like I have uh, an advantage that some new streamers don't have, and that I have a classical theater training.
Oh, nice.
Before this, yeah, I got my degree from theater at James Madison. So yeah, I've done stage performances, I've done improv theater, all that stuff. 7 years at the Maryland Renaissance Festival as a wandering villager. Trust me, all that has come into play when I first went live, and I still feel like I lean back on a lot of that training. But that's for Twitch. For YouTube, it's about the cleanliness, it's about the polish, it's about getting it right on whatever take and getting the best take in there. And I think that relatively live content on YouTube is still a new thing. And I
Yeah.
mean that relatively compared to Twitch. and and I think they're still working through like UI and things like that. But one advantage that YouTube has over Twitch is like you said, discoverability.
Yeah.
And I think that the audiences are still very much about edited content on YouTube versus Twitch, where it's all about live content. Now you get some of the if you can get some of that beautiful discoverability on YouTube over to Twitch, booyah, it'd be great. But we're still navigating that, if you will.
Right. So, you mentioned when you started multi-streaming to YouTube that you have to think about additional things. Like you have to think about the production value, making sure things are like crisp
Sure.
because they're used to edited content. Um, is there anything else that you've added to your workflow now that you multi-stream to YouTube for anyone that is considering this leap and like, to help prepare people for what it's like to actually like do live streaming on YouTube?
Yeah, the clear strategy that we have from YouTube to Twitch is that if you're live streaming on YouTube, great. But you also if you want to build that YouTube presence, you got to have edited content as well. And just like with Twitch, I think you can burn out very quickly on YouTube, because it's one thing to do live content. When you're editing content, that's a whole different level of hell. And I have been working with, I'm going to date myself, please brace for impact loco. I first sat behind Adobe Premiere when it was version 4.5, and I wrote the book on version 5, okay? So I have been working with Premiere for decades. I know what it's like to edit video. It is not easy,
Yeah.
not by any stretch of the imagination. So you should have a plan for edited content on YouTube. For Twitch, it's more about, well, how do I make it interactive? Because I'm going to be honest, we don't really interact with a lot of people. The difference between what Detune does and what I do is Detune is streaming and investigation. I'm bringing you into the investigation. Detune interacts with chat. He's got the chat window pulled up on his display. He's got alerts enabled. He's got all that happening. When you watch an OSI investigation, you see our logo and you see investigation in progress, which means when we take a break, that's when I interact with stream. I've turned it over to the mods. The mods make sure that we have zero zero trolls in the stream. If people ask questions, the mods record them, and then they get them to me at the break, and they say, "Here's some questions from chat. How is Steve handling the darkness because he's blind? How does this particular device work? Did you happen to hear at this point something whisper XYZ? That type of thing." And it becomes more interactive. So the question is, how do I make other paranormal content interactive on the Twitch side of things? And
Mm.
that's when I came up with the footage review and that approach, so that people can have a chance to sit down and ask me questions even while I'm reviewing footage. And I would say that is the two biggest things that you should have going into multi-streaming. Not just have a strategy for your stream, but have a strategy for each platform, and approach each platform as, yeah, it's the same stage, but I'm accomplishing two different things.
Mm, yeah. So you mentioned edited content for YouTube. Obviously, that's
Mhm,
like a really important factor because that's what
mhm.
YouTube is made for, right? Do
Right.
you ever take some of your live stream content, because now that it's on YouTube, right? Like obviously there's continued discoverability for those VODs, but do you ever take aspects of that and turn it into edited content? And if so, like how much work do you put into those?
I put a lot of work into this stuff. I mean, and yeah, I do take the content that I have, um, from YouTube and from, more so from Twitch than from YouTube. But I do, for me, the Twitch feed, the live Twitch feed is, that is my go-to fourth camera,
Mm,
because we have actually fifth camera, because I've got, two cameras. Myself, my buddy has two cameras, so we have four main cameras that we pull footage from. Then we have the stream. That's the fifth camera, and the fifth camera tends to be a little more mobile than the other four. And so what I do is I do a multi, when I sit down and I create, an episode, an investigation of old spirits. What I do is I take all five cameras, I pump them into Premiere, and then I have my multicam setup. So I'm literally hopping camera one, camera two, camera three, camera five, camera two, camera four. So it becomes my extra camera. The one, and that's been working great. That's been working absolutely phenomenal for the production. And yeah, whenever you do sit down material and you start editing it, it's, the way to look at it is, one, in in the hands of a skilled editor, 1 minute of edited material is going to cost you between 30 minutes to an hour in real time. And that may sound ludicrous when you think, well, he's doing 30-minute episodes. That means he's putting in 30 hours. Yeah, I am. It's easy for that to happen. And people who do not understand, when they sit down, even when they sit down with iMovie, they go, "Oh, this is hard. This is really hard." And it is hard. And whereas I feel that YouTube is more of a home for edited content, Twitch is giving you the option of uploading edited content. It doesn't land as well.
there's
I've
no
tried it
point.
several times. Yeah, yeah, and so I leave the interaction and I leave the live content for Twitch. YouTube, it's just an extra bonus. And what we've noticed is we've had more, views. In some cases, we've had more views of our live investigations than we have of our edited investigations. So that's been fascinating to watch as well. But I,
Mm.
I do tell people, if you are getting into edited content, and yeah, we go into it in Twitch for Dummies, how to edit with Premiere, how to edit with iMovie and that stuff. But I tell people, give yourself time to edit. It's not as easy when you sit down and you realize, wow, this is hard. I'm like, yeah, this is why you hear of a lot of, YouTubers and Twitch streamers say, yeah, my editor handles all of this.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. But I will say this. I will say this. When you watch, Destination Fear, which is now Project Fear on YouTube, when you watch that series, keep this in mind. The guy who's in charge of the entire group, Dakota Layden, he's editing his own video. So when he was on the Discovery Channel, he didn't have a team. It was him.
Mm.
And that just makes me appreciate the show all the more. Um, and yeah, it's hard work, but is it worth it? I think so in the end, yes. Video editing is a great skill to have as a content creator.
Now, this isn't related to multi-streaming, but I do want to call this out because you've made
Okay.
a lot of references to other streamers, other YouTubers, other
Hmm.
creators who are making paranormal content. This is like
Sure.
a really good thing to point out because you are actually actively consuming competition, but like, like people who are making the same type of content, which
Right.
is going to make you a better creator because you understand what's out there, you can get
Yep.
inspiration, like
Yep.
you learn from that stuff. And I feel like that's a very underrated thing for especially streamers
Extremely,
to
extremely
watch
underrated.
people who are making content that is similar to you, or content like that you strive to make, right? Like because
Mhm.
you learn so much by just seeing how other people do things.
And and that's the thing. If you think you've reached a point in your content creation career where you know all, and and maybe you decide, hey, I'm going to write a book about this, keep this in mind. This book was not me flexing saying this is how much I know about Twitch. This was my love letter to the platform. I took all the mistakes that I made and I went to other streamers and I said, how could I have avoided this? And while I give you my perspective on Twitch and Twitch for Dummies, I went to a lot of other streamers and talked to them about their Twitch experiences. And one of the things that I have learned, not just with content creation on Twitch and on YouTube, but also in podcasting, because I was one of the early podcasters. I learned more about podcasting by listening to other people and then saying, okay, how can I incorporate what they're doing and make it my own? Perfect example. One of the things I noticed was that when there were investigations, other investigators, if they were doing like an investigation a week, and it was just hardcore, like they were just cranking them out, then they'd have maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks of no content whatsoever. And the lesson I took from that was well, it'd be nice if I could get their perspectives on other things. So then Phil and I created what was called the 5 minute paranormal. So we do part one of an investigation, then there's a 5 minute paranormal, and then there's part two of the investigation, and then two 5 minute paranormals. And the 5 minute paranormals are reviews, they're product reviews, they're tips on how to find an EVP. There's tips on what's your best starter kit. And what I discovered was that nobody else was doing this. Nobody. And that is and I so I feel like by watching other investigators, watching other streamers, I'm finding out maybe there's a content gap there that needs to be filled, or I see how they're approaching an investigation or a topic, and I go, I think I have a different angle that I'd like to try with that. You learn by being part of the community, not coming in and flexing, but really becoming part of the community. And I think it's something that more more recent streamers are forgetting about. And I really feel like there should be a step back to that.
Yeah.
Make time to be part of somebody's community and getting in FaceTime with people. I mean, that's how I wound up here. That's how I wound up here with Loco. And I don't take that for granted. And so I emphasize, watch other streamers, watch other people in the content that you're creating, and see what you can learn from them, because guaranteed you can learn something from them.
That is fantastic advice. You've actually given so many great nuggets of advice. Before we wrap up, anything else that you want to say about your multi streaming experience, whether it's streaming on YouTube, managing both, or things creators should be thinking about when doing this?
Yeah, the I think, and it's something that I've seen again going back to Detune. He has had a similar issue. Whatever you're doing, whether it's paranormal investigation, whether it is underwater basket weaving, whether it is cooking, doesn't matter what you're doing. Do not let the stream take you out of the moment, and allow yourself grace when something goes wrong. And I'll be the first one to tell you, it's frustrating. I remember, and I'm sure Loco remembers me recounting this. Um, I would go to this one location that was just outside of a major city. So I thought, oh, I'd have plenty of Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi was terrible. It was a mess, and I kept losing the stream. And of course, people were getting frustrated. Some people would bail. Then I go to a then I go to another location. It is in the middle of nowhere. It's a former TB ward turned mental asylum turned medium security prison. I get the best Wi-Fi here. Why? Because I'm on top of a mountain. And that kind of what is the Wi-Fi going to be like? You can plan for good Wi-Fi or bad Wi-Fi. You may not have it. And if that doesn't happen, unless you have thousands of dollars to invest in a satellite service, you're not going to have it. I was even told by one of the vendors who specialize in uh, backpack modems and backpack services. They're like, yeah, we can't guarantee. you can sign up for our service. We can't guarantee the connection. And that is humbling. But that also reminds me, okay, if the stream doesn't work, focus on what I'm here for. Focus on what I'm trying to do. Allow myself grace. If the feed doesn't necessarily work the way you expect it, I will say this. Twitch will be very forgiving for you. YouTube, you might have to come up with some extra content to edit just to make them feel better. But I that is one of the reasons why I still stay with um, live streaming on Twitch with the paranormal investigations, because that audience has a great understanding of when things go wrong, and things will go wrong. Allow yourself grace.
Yeah, that is super accurate, super true. And, you know, a little bit of a pro to having a YouTube channel is, hey, you don't have internet for your stream, you can always record it and put that together. So it's a
And that's what we
little
do.
plus. Yeah, that
That's
makes a
why
lot of
that's
sense.
why which is why we have so many redundancies on site. So yeah, that too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Which
Team
you would
Monster, yeah.
understand which you would understand if you and Christy came on an investigation with us. You would see the
Yeah.
redundancies in work.
Oh
It'd be
man.
great, wouldn't
I
it?
wish I could. I really do. I got
You're busy
something
that
that
day.
day.
You
Yeah.
got
I
something
just
with it. It's always going to
can't
be that.
reschedule it. I'm sorry. If only. Um maybe another
Chat's
lifetime.
agreeing with me. Chat's agreeing with me. Come
Of
on, give the
course
people
they
what they
are.
want.
Of course they're agreeing. I won't even play Phasmophobia. Literally, Phasmophobia is on our hype challenge. It's like the one of the highest tiers because I don't want to do it. I hate it.
And
It's
I will
terrifying.
be there in a heartbeat to take you through that game. But I do want to say, in light of that, in light of my comment, I do want to say it's been great being here. Sadly, I think it's going to be the last time I'm going to be here, but that's okay.
Wait. Oh yeah. I was like, wait, no. Your advice kind of made up for it a little bit, but I am gonna have a hook
Okay,
ready
okay,
next time.
okay.
So,
Have a hook. Have a hook.
Team Monster, thank you so much for being on the show. Do a little shout out. Tell us where we can find you,
Sure.
and we'll give you link permits so you can actually type it in chat too.
Oh, okay. Well, if you go, hang on a minute. So that's the only downside. Um, I wish I had a shorter, such a long URL. oldspiritsinvestigations.com. There we go. You go
Nice.
there, it'll take you automatically to the YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe there. You can also follow and sub if you like over at twitch.tv/the TeeMonster. And when I'm over at the TeeMonster, it's a variety stream. I lean towards Destiny, but I will find a game that I really like. Like I just finished the Jedi Fallen Order, absolutely loved it. My buddy Phil, who got me into OSI, yeah, he got me playing Dead Space. Thanks, I hate it, but I can't put it down. So it's like the Stephen King novels of of video games. I just can't put it down. Along with so you can find us either there at Old Spirits Investigations, or you can find us over at the TeeMonster. Keep an eye out next year for the 5th edition of Podcasting for Dummies. The 2nd edition of Twitch for Dummies, that is available in bookstores everywhere. Yes, even with some of the recent changes, it's still a relevant book. And yeah, just that's the best way to keep in touch with me and keep in touch with us. And I also want to point out real quick, Phil and I are also working on an anthology. If it doesn't come out before Christmas, it's going to come out at the beginning of 2024. It's basically stories that are ghost stories, cryptids, and UFOs. And we are calling it Inspired by True Events. And that's coming very soon. Keep
Nice.
tabs on the TeeMonster or Old Spirits. You'll find out more there. Thank you so much, Loco, for having me here. I hope this has been not only a boon for you, but for your chat as well.
Absolutely. Like I said, lots of great advice, T. I'm sure we'll have you back on if you can behave yourself. So
I'll do my best, chat. I'll do my best.
awesome. All right. Take care, T.
Take care. Bye bye.